Helmets are for safety. Welcome back to Random, and today we're going to be talking about a really interesting invention that was made back in the 1800s. But first, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and if you enjoy cold beverages and groovy tunes, check out Beer and Song of the Day. The link to that channel will be in the description down below. Now, today's episode is about, like I said, an invention that was made in the 1800s, 1876 to be specific, by a gentleman named Alexander Graham Bell. Now, his invention, of course, is the telephone. It's the instrument of mass information, or the mass communication, or depending on who you follow in the media, mass misinformation or mass miscommunication. Anyway, Alexander Graham Bell figured out that sound could be translated into electrical energy that could then be transmitted over a wire to another location and then be retranslated back into sound. Now, his transmitter was powered by an electromagnet. Basically, he had an external power source, and as he spoke, the sound waves would hit against a diaphragm, and it would move an armature back and forth inside the electromagnet, turning that sound wave into electrical energy that could then be transmitted. So as sound was translated into electricity on one end, which we call the transmitter, and sent through the wire to the other end, which we call the receiver, which then turned that electricity into sound, and that's how we know a speaker converts electrical energy into sound energy. Now, it uses DC power. Early on, the telephone systems actually had pretty enormous electrical requirements. You see, they started out with 48 volts DC power. That was simply because that's all they had at the time. So they'd have these massive batteries, or in some cases they would actually have hand crank generators on the phones, so they would generate their electrical power, and that's how you would be able to transmit your voice from point A to point B. Now, around that same time, as telephones started becoming more and more prevalent, they had something called switching boards. And what you would do is you would pick up the receiver, otherwise known as the speaker, off of the hook. Now, that was the on-off switch for the system, okay? So in a local loop, technically, what you would do is you would have one person take their receiver off the hook. That would energize their part of the loop, and they would be able to talk to someone else on the other end of the loop. Or through a switching station, they would be able to talk to someone from, let's say, someone in Virginia wants to talk to someone in Pennsylvania. What they would do is they would pick up the phone, they would take the receiver off the hook, pick up the microphone, and tell the operator, hey, I need to contact so-and-so at this location at this number. And that's how they would do it. They would simply switch from point A to point B. The operator would tell the operator on the other end, hey, I've got a call coming in from so-and-so. Please connect it to this person at this location. And that's how they would communicate. Now, again, this is all on DC power, and the switch operators had their systems where they had enormous batteries, generators, all for electrical power to transmit the sound from point A to point B cleanly and efficiently. Now, let's see, I just talked about old phones using DC power, 48 volts specifically. Pretty hefty voltage, all things considered. Now, as time went on, we of course figured out that DC power wasn't that efficient over long distances. To be able to transmit the same amount of voltage over, say, 100 miles, you would need substations to kick this power back up to a certain voltage so it can continue on. There's probably going to have to be another video. Comment down below if you think my editor should make notes on that so we can do that in a future episode. So let's see, the switchboards were the precursors to area codes, what we know today. Like I said, what you would do is you would pick up the receiver off the hook. That would close the circuit. That would enable you to talk to the operator or anyone else. And I'm still having issues with my camera, but that's okay. So you would be talking on the local loop. And what you would do is you would tell your operator, I need to talk to so-and-so, and they would transfer your line manually. Again, precursor to area codes. Now, the transmitter was stowed on the hook. As it did so, it opened the circuit. That allowed no voice to be transmitted. That basically turned the system, quote unquote, off. Now, as time went on, technology got a little bit better. Then people started being able to dial from their home to another home without needing an operator to do so. This is what the dialer system was. But what they did was they took a wheel and that interrupted the signal X number of times per second, and that would indicate a single digit. And what you would do is you would put your finger on the 1 on the rotary dial, you would spin it over, it would click back, it'd have X number of clicks, and that would indicate 1 for the telephone. And then you would do the same for 0, 2, 3, and so on, until you have a complete 7 or 10 digit phone number to dial. Okay, time goes on, technology gets better. Instead of using 48 volts DC, technology gets to the point where we now have batteries capable of sustaining voltages of 3.5 volts and circuits that require much less current and electricity to do the same job. Cordless phones. And of course, that integrated all of the circuits and all of the components of the original telephone into a single handheld unit, where the microphone was on one end, where you'd speak into, and the speaker was on the other end, where you would listen. And again, this is a much lower voltage system, so you wouldn't need quite so much power, and the batteries wouldn't have to be so big. Well, time goes on again. Technology improves. Battery materials get better, and suddenly we have things like lithium polymers, and we have things like integrated circuits using semiconductors and diodes and transistors, and everything just keeps shrinking and getting smaller and more efficient, and you need less and less power to run it all, until finally you get something like this. Now, a lot of people are asking, well, that's an awful lot of talk to tell us about an invention that we use every day. True, but this invention is so fantastic and so easy to use that anyone can use it. A cell phone is practically, you can use it anywhere in the world. And here's how you do it. You simply press it against your ear like so, and you talk into it and you say, "Hey bro, how are you? I heard about your procedure. Be sure to use that cream. Talk to you, bye." Now, how much of that conversation did you understand? What procedure did my brother have? What was the cream for? Comment down below if you think you know, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, you're wrong. You only heard one side of the conversation because I had the phone against my head and I could hear the other side of the conversation. Not like some slack-jawed, inbred, mouth-breathing, vote blue no matter who yokel who can't figure out how to talk on a phone and has to hold it out in front of him like this, so everybody around him can hear the entire conversation. No, I don't care that your sister was late. I don't care that father was responsible. I don't need to hear it in English. I don't need to hear it in Spanish. I sure as hell don't need to hear it in Swahili. Put your phone against your head so you can hear both sides of the goddamn conversation. End of rant. So, if you got anything out of this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. Tell my editor what he's doing wrong. Tell me what I'm doing right, because obviously I got it all figured out. And as always, keep it random.